Has started.
Time we ask ourselves, why in the world is this happening to me right now? We all have heard stories, if not
Muted.
stories of our own, as far as, just going through things as an individual, as what humans do. So we just have to continue to have faith. Faith is what we need for something like this. Pain turns into purpose because it had to happen. Now, any rightful human, we don't want to hear that it had to happen. We did it really have to happen, like, right now at this point? But it's fortunate, but it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate sometimes when it happens, but then it turns out to be fortunate because everything that we go through, it makes us the person that God intended for us to be. Sometimes we already think we're okay. Sometimes we already think that we're pretty good where we're at. Sometimes we may not feel like we need any type of improvement. We may not feel like we need any type of extra giddy up or something. But you'll be surprised as to where God can really test you, as to where God can really, really test you, and have you understand that everything that is kind of like the light in the dark, the pain into purpose. It's not exactly always the easiest thing to deal with, but at the same time, uh, it brings us to it just brings us to where we are now. I mean, everyone on this line, we can tally up all of the things that happened to us. Why they happened, we have absolutely no clue. But then you think about it hard enough, and it brings you to where you're at right now. I can say the same thing. From the time I first started on this line and to right now, as I always say when I get on here, it's always been a huge improvement. It's always been an absolute huge improvement and a blessing. At first, I could not see anything that was happening to me as a blessing in disguise. I didn't want to see it that way. Sometimes you want the situation itself just to be over. But especially as a growing young black man, you get put through a lot of tests. I mean, we all get put through tests, but some people more than others. So being at the time, being 25 and being 26 and trying to understand exactly what's going on, and then when you get to 30, you start to accept everything. Acceptance is the one thing that's going to help your pain turn into a solid purpose. Because once you accept it, then it's like, okay, this really had to happen. And then something about acceptance, it then transpires into having a clearer vision on a lot of things. Now, the vision is not usually clear when the things are occurring, whether it be a move, whether it be a loss of a house, a loss of a car, just a loss of an income, loss of a job, or not even maybe not even a complete loss, but just a setback within itself. Sometimes we honestly don't want to hear that this was meant to happen. But somehow, some way, you look at that situation and you look at where life has brought you, and then you sit back and tell yourself, wow, like this is really what's supposed to happen this way. You think about if you didn't lose that job or that house, you wouldn't move. You would have never moved, and you probably wouldn't have met your best friend or your mate, or you probably wouldn't have moved closer to a better church home. See, everything just kind of goes in cahoots together, I like to say. So, people, when you're having a hard time, when things are just not looking right, and you absolutely don't want to hear, okay, this is how it's supposed to go, then um, right now, okay, I can respect it. Maybe you don't want to hear it, but as time goes on, you will definitely, for sure, understand why things happen the way they did. I can almost promise you that you'll see the acceptance as to why things happen the way they did. So just stay positive. Just continue to be strong. Continue to be the best you that you can be. Because sometimes these things can change you. Anything that happens or transpires, it can change you ways you didn't thought you could even be changed. Sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad, and it puts you at a big test as to where you want to stand as a human being. So just continue to have the faith, continue to stay as positive as possible, because every day won't be positive, every day won't be jolly while you're going through these changes. But that's why it says it had to happen. You turn your pain into a purpose. It had to happen that way. Like I said, once again, we don't know why, but it definitely had to happen that way in order for you to understand a certain part of life. Maybe certain parts of life you already understood, but then there's other parts of life, maybe God felt like he needed to wake you up on that part of life itself. So you have things that happen, and then you ask yourself, okay, why exactly is this happening? Just continue to stay positive, continue to stay positive, continue to have faith, continue just to always be yourself, no matter what the situation may be. Like I said, that's always the hardest part, because the process can change you. The people around you doing that process can change you. It's a lot that can change you. It's a lot that can transpire, especially for people going into different age brackets. For anybody who's young, going into teenager, anybody who's leaving the teenage part and going into adulthood, anybody in their 20s going into their 30s into the 40s, etc. Those years and days and months definitely change you as a human being. So just continue to be prosperous, continue to always have faith, continue to do the right things, like I always say, to the best of your ability, because it's never easy to just do the right thing. It's a lot of things are unfortunately easier said than done. So just continue to pray as well, because this is the part where prayer comes in at. This is the part where trusting God comes in at, because everything has to go according to God's plan. And sometimes God will just delete your plans, and he'll put his plans in motion. Of course, you're like, okay, what in the world is going on? I planned this. I planned on going to do this. I planned on going to do that. And then it just goes that way, even for something as small as a dinner, as small as a gathering. You may have planned to start at 6, but the gathering started at 7, and when 7 o'clock came, you got to run into somebody you haven't seen in 20 years because you were going to the store. It's just little stuff like that. Maybe you run into somebody and they are at a good church and they ask you to join the church. 5 years later, you're a member. 5 years later, if it's male or female, whatever, 5 years later, you're married to that person. Or 5 years later, that's your best friend. So every part of life has a part that was deleted so that that space can be occupied for where we are now. So it's a lot of things that happen to me, and I'm like, look, this cannot happen right now. But it happens for a purpose. When it's going on, it happens for a purpose or a reason. When I was younger and I was moving a little faster and I was wilder and I didn't understand why, I was moving from place to place. Had a bunch of different cars, a bunch of different jobs, and I'm like, I took jobs I never thought I would take. I moved places I never thought I would move. But in that process, I've met people that I'm grateful to have met them. I'm happy that I met them the way I did. I'm happy that, I met them when I did, because now we're all good friends, or we're colleagues doing something else, or we might even start a business together. Who knows? But God always has a solid plan. So anybody down, anybody out, anybody not understanding what in the world is going on right now, God has a good plan for you. Like I always say, I don't know when his plan will start or end, but he has one that is exactly for you. And that is when happiness kicks in. A lot of things occur, such as sadness and depression, because we are fighting our way through life trying to attach ourselves to God's plan and detach ourselves from the plan that we had. Sometimes we get a little bit spoiled because we just plan stuff and we want it to go how we want it to go, and then it just doesn't work that way. So I ask everyone just continue to pray. And I have gone through a lot of things where I didn't think I was going to make it out. I just gave up at that point because I said, you know what? If this is God's plan, I'm going to give up right here because I don't want to go any further. But he allowed me not to give up. He allowed me to have a different mindset than what I thought I would have when the plan happened. You know, when the thing happens, sometimes you think you might be scared. But when it actually gets there, you're calmer than what you thought. You're more understanding than what you thought you would be. And then it goes a lot better than what you thought. Even though sometimes it's a plan we don't want to go off, it goes a lot better than what we thought how we thought it would go. So everybody on this line, if you're going through anything, it could be something small. It could be something absolutely major. But just continue to have that faith, continue to have that trust in God, and continue to have that trust in yourself. Because we are made in the likeness of the Creator. So it's a lot of things that He has already instilled in us that we just have to expose during these trials and tribulations. So anybody that's going through anything, and this is coming from somebody who has actually been at the bottom of everything, like, you know, you're at the end of everything. You know, you feel like you're at the end of everything. You know, like I always say, I share my story so people can relate, and they know that I can relate. Maybe not exactly matching up the situation, but knowing that we're all human. You know, we're all pretty much in this together because we are God's children. So please, people, continue to be who you are. Continue to do everything that you have to do in order for you to succeed in life. Continue to have the best understanding that you can have when it comes to what's going on. Because some things are absolutely horrific. Some things are a breeze. A lot of us go through a lot of different things more than others. But just take a deep breath. Take the time to relax. Take the time to do everything that, you know, you have to do in order for you to just exist in a positive mindset, to have a greater, better understanding of not just why things are happening, but just to have a greater understanding of life itself. Not always the easiest aspect, but, you know, when things happen and you have an understanding, life is a lot better. That's where acceptance comes in. That's where you attach that to, you know, it had to happen. You know, this is how it was already written to happen. So I say that to say, people, just have the faith. Anybody is, you know, like I said, in the mix of anybody on the positive side, in the mix of getting a new job, in the mix of getting a new home, in the mix of moving to a new neighborhood or a better neighborhood, anybody in the midst of, you know, creating a life through God with a new mate, anything that's going on new in your life, you know, continue to be blessed. Anything that's opposite of that, if you're erasing old things, if you're getting rid of the past and you're having a better understanding of the future, you know, many blessings to you and to that as well. But just continue to trust God. Continue to have a positive insight on yourself. Continue to have people around you who have a positive insight. And, you know, continue to do whatever it is that you have to do in order to have a solid understanding of, you know, life itself. In Jesus' name we all pray. Amen.
Glory be to God. Well, we thank God for Brother Sean and coming on here every week, being very dedicated man of God that he is, and we appreciate his foresight and thought and the lessons that he brings us on 10 p.m. Prayer Watch. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. We thank God for you and all of the people who are listening out there. We are seeking to be unified in God by prayer regardless of who you are or where you are. So we'd like for you to tune in at our website at www.nationwide.prayer.org for more information. We're always seeking to find prayer leaders to say a few words. We always love to have all of you prayer warriors out there sign up on our website, send us your email, and so that we can keep in touch. And we hope that we see you at our next prayer watch, which is next Wednesday at 6 a.m., 12 noon, 6 p.m., and 10 p.m. Be sure to check out our calendar as well. We have lots of changes coming up in the next month, additional watches going on, and opportunities on Periscope that you can pray all day long. So we hope to see you next week. We thank you all for joining us, and may God bless you all.
This session is no longer being recorded.